All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to, wow, right out of the gate. Tiger Shark says, let's go, Andy. Let's go, guys. I feel good tonight. I feel real good. Let's see. Let me hide this again. Welcome everybody to a Tuesday night on a kind of a wild day, not just at Corn Nation, but at SB Nation altogether, because we switched our like editing platform or whatever you want to call it, where we actually go in and write articles, but today was the migration day. You know, it was going to be done in the morning. we're still waiting to be able to go in full bore again. So I wasn't able to post an article tonight a couple hours before letting you know, but I did. We've got something new called the feed, which is just a place where, you know, folks can go in, just post whatever's on their mind. It'll show on the front page. So I stuffed one in there. So hopefully the word got out. We might be a little lighter tonight. And I was late getting it up on StreamYard, but we're here. We're gonna do Moneyball, and this is all the movies we've done so far. I've got a list of top favorite sports movies, and I haven't written about them now in a couple of years. I started doing this instead, and I meant to try and get back to doing one every week or two this summer. I failed miserably. It's just a little busier, so I'm still kind of fiddling with this brave new world I'm finding myself in. But Moneyball was not on my top 50 list. That's where I was going with that. And it's one that I've started putting a list together of, whoops, this one should have been there somewhere. I still fiddle with the, you know, like the ones that I've written the articles on. I'm up through about number 38 or 39. Those are locked in. Those won't change. But I'll take a look at the list, and, you know, your life changes when you're dragging things out over years. So that's kind of a liquid list. And I've now got a sub list going of ones that should have been on it. And I thought, let's get one of these here. It's still summer. It's baseball season. And we're going to take you to winter and hockey season next week. But it's Moneyball this week. So while I'm there, let me tell you this, because I'm finally remembering to, you know, set a few rules for myself. One of them is, you know, this was last year. People asked, hey, let us know what you're going to be doing next week, so we can have a chance to watch it. So I'm trying to let people know Goon is next week. It's another one of those. It's not even on Tubi. It's just in the, you know, $3.79 from Amazon or whatever. And that's where I'm afraid Goon is. And it had been everywhere well, not everywhere. It had been streaming somewhere for about the last 2 years. So this is my way of just, you know, I guess the universe letting me know that it doesn't hate me, but it likes to fuck with me. So yeah, you got to pay for Goon, or you can I bet you could get Goon out of you know, one of the $3 bins at a Walmart or something like that. So it's out there. It's just going to cost a few bucks. I'm not kidding you though. This is one of the funniest sports movies ever made. It got, you know, basically next to no distribution. Kind of got a life in the hockey community. Afterwards, you watch it. You don't need to be a hockey savant to watch it, and it is just Sean William Scott stars. He's ungodly funny. He is not playing Stifler. He is playing probably the opposite of Stifler. He is playing a hockey goon, but who's just a really, really sweet and fairly you don't want to call a guy dumb, but he's a little dumb. But he kind of knows it too, and he's a really sweet character, while at the same time just being hilarious with some of his observations of the world, both in and out of hockey. So Goon next week. Let's see, what else? Talked about not in the top 50. And when I talk about my crazy life, the last year I've gone from, you know, writing, going in fits and spurts, to kind of turning that up, retired. Or I was retired would probably be the more accurate term, but I decided to, you know, as I like to say, I like to make it permanent for now. But now I find myself like covering Huskers softball, covering, covering Huskers football in the press box, and now it's like I spent some time at spring ball, and now I get to go to the practices where they let the press on the field for which usually about 20 minutes, but can get some good video and some shots there. I actually sprung for a camera so I wouldn't just be running around holding my iPhone, even though it takes pretty good pictures and probably better video than the camera. It really takes the bounces out of there. So check coordination while practice is going on, because I usually try to post post some videos, and people seem to enjoy that. So that's where we are tonight. And I just wanted to say, I guess, when I got started, I just feel really lucky being able to do what I do now and be around it and just immerse myself in sports. I say, like, hey, 40 years ago I wouldn't have seen myself doing this. Hell, 5 years ago I wouldn't have seen myself doing this. So I'm trying to bring the information I can to you, and I thought I'd make a regular little thing now that practice has started. But the first football show won't be till the Tuesday before Cincinnati, and boy, I feel like we're just getting started, and we're about to finish up again. But at the end of the shows, we can talk a little about what we've seen in press conferences and practices and that sort of thing. Headed down to the fan day Saturday, so have a few thoughts on that. So let's see. Let's get going on Moneyball here. Looky here. Minnie, my Vegas buddy Minnie is here tonight. I was surprised when I was out in Vegas for Big Ten football media days that I hear this. Andy and Minnie was in town as well. So thanks for hopping in tonight. Good to have you here. And let's see, what do we got from TSD? Andy, a goon in hockey is the same as a wedge buster in football back in the day. We're all a little insane. Yeah, goon takes a little deeper than wedge busting. And when I was in high school, our favorite play as a team was just a quarterback wedge. It was basically a quarterback sneak where I just tuck my head behind my center, and then just let it was 8-man, so let our front three just kind of we could run that on just about any down, maybe not on 3rd and long, but 1st and 10, sure, let's go wedge, let's run the wedge for 5. So I like it. Not too much punching and swinging on that. And Minnie says, I asked a question today in the presser. I got a little quiet in the pressers, but I got one in today. Who was I talking to? Probably, was it? Oh, it was Butler. John Butler, defensive coordinator, was out there. And I just asked him, I thought it'd be just a little different to say, hey, what are some weaknesses? What after a week of practice, what do you feel like you really need to work on? Is there something or some things lacking? Something like that. And he, naturally, he's not about to drop state secrets. Hey, we can't pass, or we can't rush the passer with the shit. And from what I hear, they can. So I'm just throwing that out there. But he gave a nice, long, thought-out answer on just how they like to set up their practices, work on this, work on that. We'll talk about that a little more after. But yeah, thanks for noticing. I did sneak one in there. Yeah, John Butler, defensive coordinator. He's an interesting dude. I do actually want to talk about him once we're done with the movie. All right, and I will hop in on the comments just kind of in between the sections, as you guys know. So if you want to comment, go in there. I think I've solved the problem, as I said last week, of YouTube having a default setting where they try and scan my comments for me and maybe not let me see some of the ones they might deem unworthy. It's like, hey, give me everything. I'll do that. Okay, so anyway. I always give the release date because I think that says something about a movie, and this is funny because Moneyball, I wouldn't have thought that was one that they were going to say throw it out there expecting it to be a blockbuster type hit, and it did well. But they released it on September 23rd of 2011, I believe, 9 years after the 2002 season, which the book was written about, and it's based on a book, Moneyball, and something like the art of an unfair deal, something like that. There's a subtitle to it, written by Michael Lewis, who his books are turning into movies because they also did, what was the football one? Help me out. I'm blanking on the Sandra Bullock Blindside. So he wrote Blindside, and I'll tell you this: I read Moneyball back like a year or two after it came out, and it never occurred to me they're going to turn this movie for this book for stat nerds into a movie. And then I went again and read it after the movie came out and I'd seen the movie, and I reread the book when I was up hiking a couple of years ago in Colorado, and read most of it. Bought it there and read most of it there, and now I could see it. Once it's been done, now I can see it. But whoever had the vision, the idea that I can make this not just a movie, but a really engaging movie. This is a really easy movie to watch. It's well written. Aaron Sorkin, I guess they brought him in to do some changes to the script, but he replaced, I think it was Steven Zalian wrote the original script. And Little Brotherhood of Script Writers is Aaron Sorkin said, I'll do it, but you're leaving his name on there too, because he put a heck of a bass in there, and he goes, yeah, I'll fiddle with it, but this isn't me just tearing his script up and throwing it away. He's as responsible for it as I am. So good guy, Aaron Sorkin. That money-wise, it finished 60th. It made yes. Here's how much money movies make now, or maybe not as much now. I'm still not sure how COVID and streaming has fully affected it. But in 2011, it just came out in September. It made $110,206,000, and that was good for 60th in worldwide gross, 60th. And its budget was around $50 million. And I'm imagining a lot of that went into like Brad Pitt's salary. I'm guessing Brad Pitt took about half of that salary. Of course, he's a producer on this too. And if we have time, I might go in. I did not realize just how many things Brad Pitt's producing, and not just the stuff he's starring in too, but big time producer. We might take a look at his IMDb here on the producer side before we're done, but he is a very busy producer. It was kind of a sequel city for the big money grossers. The leader was it was the final Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and that made over $1.3 billion that raked in. Second was Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Third was Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, and then Twilight. And these are decent. Then the final Twilight got Breaking Dawn Part 2. I put initials here in a lot of these, and I'm like, please remember what these initials stand for. But yeah, Twilight I know, and then I know, and then Mission Impossible, the very good Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. That might be the best movie on that top 5 list. And so one thing I like to do when we're getting going is pick something, a director, star, and hit them up for a Mount Rushmore. Now, if we've got enough for sports movies, great. Brad Pitt doesn't really have 4 sports movies. What I've got for sports movies, and let me know if I'm missing anything, if I jumped ahead of something when I was scanning it. But I have, and then I'll fill out my other 2 with my favorite other two Brad Pitt movies. So number 1 are both fantastic: Moneyball, and then F1. And man, if you didn't see F1 in the IMAX this summer, then I hope you get a chance to do it, because that is a movie that IMAX screens were made for. It was unbelievable. Just a great time, just a great entertaining time at the movies. Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt, the movie star. Aaron Rostovsky, who writes for us, went and saw it and came back saying the same thing, just saying it's rare that it delivers like everything you were hoping it would, or everything that was promised. So Moneyball, F1, and then my other 2 I'd have to say for Brad Pitt are Seven and Ocean's 11. And there's a lot to choose from. Seven's very dark, but I think it's just, I think just because the subject matter was so downright disturbing that it missed out on a lot of awards it should have won. I mean, Morgan Freeman should have been walking out of there with some gold. Best movie, I'd have to look and see what the other nominees were, but I would think it should have competed for best movie in a year. I don't know that Kevin Spacey was in it long enough. Really, I guess he could have, but if he was, I mean, he should have been up for Best Supporting Actor. And then Ocean's 11 was just a lot of fun, and he's one of the guys that made it fun. And that was the first time I noticed that he likes to get in movies and just be constantly eating, because I don't think he ever stopped eating in Ocean's 11. So, and then a little shout out. Phillip Seymour Hoffman plays Oakland A's manager Art Howe in this. It seems like just yesterday that we found out that he had died. And it's 2014. We're going on 11 years now since his death, and holy cow. So I made just a quick 6-man Mount Rushmore for Phillip Seymour Hall of my favorite Phillip Seymour Hall, not necessarily starring roles, because it's always seemed like he was just he's always at his best, but I loved him most when he was coming in as a, side character, supporting character, because he just seemed freer to do better things as the supporting guy. Like, the lead guy's got to be the lead guy, got to kind of keep it under control, but supporting guys, that's where you can get the quirkier, more interesting performances. So here's my 6. I don't think anybody's going to agree with them 6 or 6. This is just me enjoying him, and not necessarily, and I'm going for the Oscar baby, but Nobody's Fool. It starred Paul Newman. He played a deputy sheriff, and it was one of the funniest scenes in the movie where Paul Newman's following his buddy down the sidewalk in his pickup truck, and him being the overreacting jerk comes out, pulls his gun on Newman, who's just going about 2 miles an hour, and then fires a warning shot. So Newman gets out and decks him, and then here's the judge sitting in front of Newman and his lawyer, and Phillip Seymour Hoffman and his police chief, and he's being indignant with the judge. Well, if we're going to let anybody just do whatever the hell, and his boss who says, "Shut up, Raymer." And then the judge just gives this great line where he's going like, "And now tell me what you think," to Newman's character. And remember, less is more. And Newman says his part, and then he goes, now go ahead, Mr. Remember, less is more. And he starts to go on a tear again. And the judge goes, "Oh, Ollie, now you know my position on arming morons. If we're going to arm one of them, we have to arm it all, or it's just not fair out there." And great Phillip Seymour. I won't do that for every one of these. I'll just give you the next 5. But Twister, how much fun was he in Twister? Almost Famous as Lester Bangs, the music writer, the rock music writer, and I mean he's unbelievable in that. Just watch Almost Famous again, or watch it for the first time. Mission Impossible 3, where I'm like, oh my God, he can be like just an absolutely evil supervillain. Ethan, I'm gonna find the people you love. I'm gonna find them, and I'm gonna hurt them. It was just chills. Charlie Wilson's War as and this is one I go off forever, but as the CIA, the CIA agent of I think it was Greek heritage, and then Hunger Games, the last 2 Hunger Games, the Mockingjay movies, fantastic in that. Just him just sitting in back, kind of in control of the whole thing. It was Phillip Seymour Hoffman all along. Anyway, let's tell you what. Let's see. We got a few more comments in here. Where are we? What I like to hear Butler say is our O-line is very big and very good. Yes, he did, and yes, they are. That was the first group I walked by the first time we got out of practice, and thought one, I mean, duh, these are some big boys. I mean, and number 2 was walking by Teddy Prohaska, and I'm 6'1", and I'm looking up realizing this isn't one of those things. If he makes a run at the NFL, you're going to find out he was really 6'7" or 6'8". He looks every inch of 6'10". So yeah, they are a big group. And yes, it was blindside. Thanks TSD, it came to me. And Fred's here. So here's our first Fred comment. Shocker to everyone. Moneyballs is what Frost calls his nuts until he runs out of buyout money. All right. Yeah. It's still a great movie. It doesn't have to be F1. It doesn't have to be in IMAX. But God, if they ever bring it back, do it. Let's see. Actors make most of their money forming their own production company, like Happy Madison with Adam Sandler. And then, I mean, Tom Cruise too. He's a big part of Skydance. God, I always forget his Paula Wagner. Maybe is that his partner? because Cruise produces like crazy. Now, what's funny is everybody when Jack Reacher, when he did Reacher, and then whatever the second movie was, Reacher was fantastic. The second movie, pretty good. It just wasn't as good as Reacher, but it was pretty good and had its moments. But everybody was like, hey, Jack Reacher in the book is usually anywhere from like 6'4" to 6'6", and 220 to 250. Tom Cruise isn't that. I say he played Jack Reacher great, but there was no way he could truly be Jack Reacher at that size. Good movies though, but so they flip and they re-kick Jack Reacher, starting with the first novel on Amazon, and with a Jack Reacher sized dude. But everybody's like, and I bet that's people wanted that done, and that good. Tom Cruise kicked aside. It's like, well, guess who produces that? Skydance. That's Tom Cruise. And I think Alan Richson, is that his name? He was talking about getting to meet Tom Cruise and being a fan, being sort of a fanboy when he met him. But yeah, he's still very much a part of it. And I think I'm guessing he and Lee Child are at least somewhat friends for this to just keep going like it is. But anyway, yeah, that's not surprising. It just surprised me the number of movies that Pitt was producing, like just the sheer number, and a lot of them like he's not starring in. So let's see, and what do we have here? Stephen Fromm, welcome Stephen. Stephen or Stefan, I'll go with Stephen, take my chances, but says maybe Frost can give some of that buyout money to the UCF NIL to help him out in recruiting. I have a feeling that if the coach starts chipping into the NIL, that's probably against a whole lot of rules, but would that he could spend it that way? I don't know. Yeah, always said the best job in the world is a fired head coach. Tiger, I say that it's the second best job. The best job in the world is NFL backup quarterback, because they get to keep pulling down the money. I think I saw where's Trey Lance now? Is it San Fran where he landed? But I think Trey Lance, because those quarterbacks that get drafted don't do so well, so many of those just turn into backup QB lifers and just get to pull. Backup QBs still get to pull down some nice money, and I'd probably take that over the one-time buyout. Hey, don't knock buyout money. That's the reason we're getting Holgo for only $1.2 million a year. I think if his services were on the open market at full price, he'd be in the 2.5 range. But Houston wrote him a check for $14 million to go away. So and we couldn't be more grateful. Many love the Hunger Games. Tiger Shark spoke what all of us were thinking. Oh Lord, Fred is here. What is this, in Collateral with Tom Cruise as taught in weapons tactics? That does not surprise me. That is one that's not really rewatchable for me. I'd go back and if it pops on, I'll watch this for a little. I don't know the last time I watched it through and through, but I could see that being true. There was one other movie they said that about, where the way they handled, maybe it was Heat. I think it was Heat. I think they said the way that they handled the weapons in Heat was also one where, I don't know if it was like a Marine commandant or something, was just saying the way these guys were trained, he said they would show them like clips of the shootout from Heat. So, and hello all, Beetle Bees checking in. Good to see you. Good to know you're there. I guess I can't see you. Cute dog. And we're getting going. And yep, Tiger Shark, Heat. Yep, but I love when I see that, when I look down and I see someone popped it up right about the same time. Heat was that they've talked about the military using that one too. All right, well, let's get moving along. Let's see. We always check on what Roger Ebert, or if it came out after he died, someone from his website, what kind of rating it got from that review, and then the Rotten Tomatoes. As you might guess, everything was pretty positive here. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics were at 94%, and the audience was at 86%. That's two big wins, especially for a sports movie where they're not even playing the sport that much, and you get 86% of the audience engaged and enjoying it. That's a good outing. That is a good outing. Roger Ebert, take kind of a wild guess in your heads. 4 stars. Attaboy. Roger came through in a big way. I mean, I could have seen a 3.5 being okay. If it got to 3 or lower, I would have wondered what was wrong with Raj. Had a good quote here from him too. Said, what happened between they actually started. Here's one thing: like, you have your 20-game American League record win streak in this. They showed them getting a rocky start, but what they actually in real life started off 0-11. Like, after 10 or 11 games, this Billy Beane thing was not going to work. But anyway, he said, what happened between the opening 11 games and the 20-game win streak is the stuff of Moneyball, a smart, intense, and moving film that isn't so much about sports as it is the war between intuition and stats. A war we're fighting a losing battle with in a lot of places today. No, I believe this is right. The stats are wrong. And then he also said, I walked in knowing what the movie was about, but was unprepared for its intelligence and depth. And that is 100% accurate. And no, it's not boring. That saying something like that, oh, good, the intelligence and the depth. There's times where you'll read a review like that for something that's up for a few Oscars, and your eyelids start to half shut when you hear that. And no, this is snappy, moves along type stuff. So good for you, Roger Ebert. So now we come to plot, and if your plot is goofy, and you can have just an incredibly weird, enjoyable movie with just the goofiest plot on earth. And when we get a plot like that, we give it the ludicrous. Let me see. Let me clear out my comment there. All right, we give it the ludicrous. This one, I'm giving this one a Bob Devaney ranking. I pull out my coach rankings. For those of you new to it, it goes from 5 down to 1. Osborne, Devaney, Pelini, Solich at 2, and Mike Riley at 1. Although could have gone Callahan or Frost in there, but I feel like Riley's teams were the weakest and just worst of them all. Not that I'm holding back or anything, but anyway, great plot because it's there. It always helps when it's true. And this one, although you'll find they played it fast, really fast and loose with the truth in the name of making a movie. We've got some fun trivia. A lot of like what was in the movie was just kind of utter bullshit. Things actually happened the opposite of the way they were portrayed in the movie, but it still gets the kind of the sabermetrics and we've got to look at baseball as a different game. It did a good job of that. So anyway, let's see. Let's start with the best scenes. And there's some of this where I kind of scooted along. It's interesting stuff, but this entire movie's interesting. That's one thing. You're kind of really into what's going on. So you got the opening scene, and they're playing. The A's are blowing a lead in I think it was the AL Championship Series final game, and they're blowing a big lead in the last inning. And the Yankees are going to win. And before that, it puts up on the screen the Yankee payroll is like $123 million, and the Oakland A's is $38 million. And so there's your Yankee comeback. I'm getting mad already. The Braves had a series with the Yankees back in the 90s that just made me pull hair out with some of the. Okay, I won't go all the way there, but yeah, don't like the Yankees. Don't hate them the way Boston does, I'm sure, but irritating. And then here's the thing that kind of gets me is you find out that Billy Beane, played by Brad Pitt, doesn't watch the games. It's like he'll even on opening day, he goes in, he's walking around the field, he's shaking all the hands he needs to shake, and then he's disappearing under, and he'll either have like a little TV or he has a radio going, and there he is just turning the radio on and off while he's sitting. They're playing in New York City, so he's sitting in the stands in Oakland, turning this thing on and off, listening to it all fall apart, because he's just one of those guys that lives to win, and he doesn't give a shit how close they came, and that you'll hear him talk about that throughout the movie. But I'm just sitting there at that moment while he's watching this go down the drain. I'm just recalling, as an Atlanta Braves fan, some of the worst crap that would happen to them, because they won a lot of division titles before they finally got that World Series under their belt. And I believe it was 95. I believe it was like just, they did that while Nebraska was making their run. That was a fantastic sports year for me, by the way. So there he is. But I'm feeling his pain, and then I'm recalling my pain. God, screw the director for for doing that to me, because I know he meant to do that. He's going to make people feel about their shit, and then they kind of I segue it in the scene to where he's meeting with Steve Schott, who really shouldn't be owning a baseball team. If you don't have the money to be competitive, why are you doing it? Is always one of my thoughts. And then I get it. Some guys, for them, the competitiveness is just owning a baseball team or owning a football team or whatever. Being a sports owner means something, because that means you got the money. And I won't pick on anybody, but there's famous people who have basically been turned down for it because their money is just kind of an illusion. And when it's time to, you may be able to play with the IRS, but you can't play with with pro sports owners. They do not want anybody rolling in who doesn't have the cash, or have the group who collectively have the cash. So he's in there. Steve Schott was the owner's name, and and he's going, "Hey man, that was so close. You did." He's one of those guys. What a great job, because he knows, that they're not on a level playing field with roster salaries, and so he's going, you should feel good about it. And Brad Pitt, Billy Beane goes, "I feel great about it," and his face says, "I hate this shit." And he rolls into it pretty quick after that and starts going, "Come on, I need some money." He goes, "I'm not talking about 10, 20, $30 million, man. I just need a little here and there so I can get over the top in some of these negotiations with guys that want to play for him, but aren't going to turn down getting, bombed with these crazy offers." I think, what they say, Giambi got like 6 years, $120 million to leave Oakland for the Yankees after that season. You're not going to turn that down. And, and a team with a $38 million payroll isn't in a position to give a dude $20 million a year. 20 of the 38 they could spend, because the rest of the team's going to be ass, basically. So then they have where he's losing Johnny Damon. Johnny Damon went to the Red Sox, and he's losing Johnny Damon too, and he's got his agent Scott on the phone, and I think that's pretty thinly veiled Scott Boras. And Scott Boras, they had a deal but didn't have it signed yet. Then Boras says, "Well, so and so is offering like a little bit more, so if you match that, we're yours." And he blows up, and I thought deservedly so. You don't tell a guy you got a deal, and then play the game that, "Oh no, I found somebody to up it after I told you we had a deal." I get it. You better cover yourself in this world, but I don't like it. And the thing is, Scott Boras is an agent I really respect. People get mad. "Oh, Scott Boras has got this $240 million contract. What a jerk." I'm like, yeah, that's his job. That's how he makes his money, and he's promising to do his best for his guy. So his job isn't to keep salaries down so fans can feel better about themselves. We're doing the whole thing with NIL and revenue sharing these days in college football. It's the same argument. It started playing out in the 70s when free agency happened. So just deal with it. I remember Scott Boras used to do things. He would tell people, he would give the team like an offer that sounded a little on the high side, but the guy always got more because the team would always turn it down. "Oh no, you don't." I can't. There was one person. This is about 7-8 years ago, and I can't remember who it was, but he came out and said, "We think that," it was something along the lines of like 7 years, $120 million is a really fair price. They're like, "But he's only making this now. You can't do that, the team. No way." And he's like, "I'm telling you, this is going to end up looking cheap." And it always did. Because then, okay, he's willing to play for this before I put him on the market. And so in his mind, he's probably trying to talk the guy out of it. But he goes, "Okay, the guy wants to be here. It's my job to tell the team his wishes." And he'd probably tell them, "But let's bump it up a little, because it's still going to be way less than the open market." Then the team would turn it down, and then he'd go out and get like $190 million. He went out and got $190 million, and it would happen over and over and over again. So that was part of me. It's like, yeah, it's unfair, but it's also unfair jumping in a money game where everybody else, it's like maybe a $20 table. Everybody else is bringing $500 and you're bringing $75 or $80 and you're just going to run away when the money's gone. So anyway, my rant on free agency. So Scott Boras kind of sticks the knife in his side. So they're losing Jason Giambi, Scott Boras, and then their closer Jason Isringhausen. And then you see, and I'll tell you later why this is so funny. But then you see they've just got 3 huge banners hanging from the stadium. Those 3, Damon, Isringhausen, and Giambi. And you'll find out that they weren't exactly hurting for talent. But anyway, so then we go to the scout meeting. Now, we have 2 meetings with the scouts, and for me, these are the most entertaining scenes in the movie. You have some guys in there you've seen before, like the guy on the very end and kind of the light green shirt there. I wrote their names down here somewhere. I believe that guy is Glenn Morshower, and if you were a fan of 24, he was the Secret Service guy in 24. You have I don't think I found him in here, but you also had Nick Searcy from for Justified fans. He was the deputy marshal where Raylan Givens worked. And then you also have this guy, Jack McGee, who's just, former fireman, that guy in all kinds of movies, always kind of a hard-bitten, usually like a big city guy. And he was the station chief or the firehouse chief in the series Rescue Me with Dennis Leary. So you've got a lot of like recognizable guys in the scout room. Well, I guess there were those 3 and one other who were the actors. Well, the guy that played, I forget his name, the one who got fired because he told Billy to go fuck himself. And the rest of there's those 4, and the rest of them were actual scouts sitting around chiming in. But you've got the scouts doing like the scout talk. They're talking, hey, the ball explodes. He's got a great swing. The ball explodes off his bat. He just needs the time. He's going to do it. And then Billy comes in and goes, but if he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good? Well, he just needs the experience. He goes, wait, but you're trying to tell me with a straight face that he can't hit in the minors, but if we throw him in against major league pitching, which will blow that minor league pitching out of the water, he's suddenly going to turn into a Hall of Famer. He's like, it just doesn't make any logical sense. But these scouts would try to just convince you, it's the intangibles. We can see things you guys can't. What did he call it? The intuition versus stats. And now stats are coming at these guys, and they don't like it. But you had stuff like this one guy, Perez, and they said, and good bat, and he's ready to go. And somebody goes, he's got an ugly girlfriend. That means he has no confidence. and they're like, and then the other guy, if you thought that was bad, then you have one of the other scouts. No, he's got confidence, man. He's one of those guys. When he walks in his room, his dick's already been there for 10 seconds. Just stuff like that. And then you hear another guy chime in. I'm telling you, that girlfriend is a 6 tops. Turns out that's a true story. Only they weren't attributing the ugly girlfriend to. They weren't attributing that to a lack of confidence. They were attributing it to bad eyesight. One of them thought he had bad eyesight, and that's why he had the ugly girlfriend. But this is like the Doug scouting stuff. It's like, I know, we know. It's like, I can feel it when a guy's got it, and your son's got it. And Billy, and I didn't really delve hard into that scene, but Billy and the head scout is just fighting this tooth and nail, because he said something like, if we try and play ball like the Yankees play ball, then we're gonna lose. And he goes, and he calls that like fortune cookie wisdom, I think was how he termed that. So anyway, you got these guys, you got Billy just going, guys, we're not doing things this way anymore. That we have to be the card counters at the poker table here, and that's where he's starting to introduce there a little bit, and then down the road to trying to find the guys that put up numbers that are different from the normally revered baseball numbers, like for the hitters, batting average, home runs, RBIs, steals. But in the movie, they really focus on the on base percentage, which isn't a bad way to go, because that's where he goes with the line. It's like, well, no, this guy, it's this and that. Yeah, but his on-base percentage is great. Then he'd point at Jonah Hill, his newly minted assistant GM, and, not yet, not in this meeting, but in the second one, and he goes, but what does he do? And he gets on base. And it's like, yeah, sure, he walks a lot. He goes, he gets on base a lot. What do I give a shit if it's a hit or a walk? So that's where they're going. There's a lot more, like, more detailed stats that they also informed that, hadn't hit the baseball world yet. Maybe they're still in the Bill James abstract, but they're getting to that. They're getting to that spot, and he probably made a great decision. Don't include the really in-depth, weird stat shit. People, that's when the eyelids will droop. Everybody can understand a walk's as good as a hit. So that's where they're going there, and everybody's getting a little pissed. Yeah, he's saying, we're always the last dog at the bowl. That was another good line. And he brings up with replacing Jason Giambi, and says, he goes, well, we'll find another Giambi. He goes, well, let's say, is there another Giambi out there that's available? Well, no. And if there was, could we afford him? And they all go, well, no. He goes, then what in the fuck are we talking about here? She's like, you're saying, yeah, we'll go grab another Giambi. It's like, no, we won't. But there's a possible answer. Now, real quick, he flies to Cleveland, which I'm not sure this happens a whole lot. I think they do most of this stuff over phone, FaceTime, whatever. But even in 2011, they'd still pick up an actual phone or the iPhone or whatever. But anyway, goes out there. He's trying to make some trades. He's sitting there with Mark Shapiro, the Indians general manager, and he's looking on every time Billy shoots him an offer. He looks over. You see this little guy little chubby guy whispering into another guy's ear. And then that guy will look at Shapiro and shake his head, and Billy sees that, and so that's where he goes like, I want to know who this guy is, because this guy is apparently making the calls. And it turns out, he's like a 25-year-old, has a master's in economics from Yale, but has turned that into all kinds of stats craziness for baseball. So Billy buys him from the Indians, but not before. He says he calls him up drinking at like 2 a.m. I love Billy, man. He is the worst part of me. I've really gotten better about having a couple and then deciding there's people that need to be talked to or texted. So that really cracked me up, seeing Billy Beane just getting on the phone with I think what his name in the movie is Paul or Peter Brand. And so he calls Pete up middle of the night and goes, all right, hey, where would you have drafted me? And he goes, oh yeah, you were really good. It's like trying to change the subject. Yeah, I definitely would have taken. He goes, no. He goes, come on, tell me. It's like you wouldn't have taken. Would you have taken me in the first round? Because real life Billy Beane was a first round draft pick of the New York Mets. I think he was their son. They had 2 pretty early first round picks, and they took Darryl Strawberry with one and Billy Beane with the other one. And so the thing is, it's like there's a lot of people thinking he wants to flip it on the baseball world's way of thinking on its ear, because he's pissed about the fact that he shouldn't have been a first round pick. And so here's what Peter tells him. He goes, I would have taken you in the 9th round, no signing bonus, and then you probably would have taken that. He had a scholarship offer to Stanford and wanted to know if he could go to school, and the Mets told him, you can always go back to school. And then when the movie's starting, or at one point in the movie, he's talking about, hey, if this blows up, Peter's going, we could both be fired. And Billy's like, yeah, it's like, you'll be fine. You're a 25-year-old with a master's from Yale. He goes, I'll be hitting the job market as a 42-year-old guy with a high school diploma and no meaningful real world experience of any kind. Because he's like, right after his baseball career ended, he just went right in being a scout and literally marched his way in baseball from scout to major league general manager. So yeah, we weren't talking about a dumb guy here. He just never went to college. So he buys Peter Brand, and Pete tells him where he's going to get drafted. So we've got the second scout meeting where he says, okay, we can't get Giambi, but we can recreate him in the aggregate. Okay, meaning let's go grab 3 guys who together their stats might equal a Jason Giambi. And tell you what, before we get into that, because the other scout scene. I'm going to dig into that a little deeper. We got some comments going. Woo! Holy camole. All right, let's see what we got. All right. Well, it ran some of them off. I hate it when it does that. Yeah, I got used to the comments dropping off, so I'm glad this is working. So it looks like people are just chatting a little here. Which one was Mickey Ward's dad? I haven't seen the fighter. Don't ask me why. Well, that might be Jack McGee. That sounds like a great role for Jack McGee. Let's see. Minnie can't go hike this evening. It's too hot. Minnie, I finally got out a few mornings here because it's been like highs in the 70s, and it's going to start cranking up again a little, but I should still be able to get out if I can crawl my butt out of bed early in the morning. So we will take those. Yeah. And 105 right now. Yeah. You chose to live there. That's not what we call like, oh my God, I can't believe it's this hot. That's just what we call Tuesday, Minnie. Am I right? Let's see. People are popping back and forth a little. Oh Jesus. No, Stephen Fromm, we're not giving you the Twilight breakdown. Beings, I think Minnie probably makes up 75 to 100% of our female viewership. That's not going to be enough to carry an in-depth Twilight discussion. Let's see. Do we score? Many wants to know if we score over 35 against Cincy. I'm gonna say yes. I'm saying yes. I'm thinking we put a few points up and kind of serve a little notice. I'm more curious to see what our defense can do because I haven't done a real in-depth look at Cincinnati yet. But the last time I looked, it looked like they had some playmakers coming back. So I want to see, if Tony was that big a deal or if John Butler's just going to pick it up and lay it down. John Butler, I'll talk about him later. I really enjoy. I always start by going, do I want to go to a John Butler interview? And then I just enjoy the guy. I always do. He's a good dude. Let's see. Nobody is talking Big Red. We'll get to Big Red after we do the movie. I promise. We'll definitely talk some Big Red. Let's see. Oh, Orson is here and says Dylan's going to win the Heisman. He's getting a lot of respect, and I found somebody sent me. I'm gonna tweet this, probably tomorrow. Get my feet back under me, Coordination website wise. But a buddy of mine found there's a guy who just does. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. So, but he just does breakdowns of like plays, and he did a full like 25-minute episode breaking down Dylan Raiola in the Pinstripe Bowl. And this guy is just going, look, this isn't a Dylan Raiola problem. He didn't have dudes last year. And he just called the guys NADs, N-A-D, not a dude, and would just show over and over how just nobody was getting any kind of separation or release. And he's almost always making the right decisions. And I believe at the end of it, he said, he felt Dylan Raiola, after like breaking down a lot of his film over the season, made better decisions than most quarterbacks in D1 football. He was really impressed because a lot of times it was like, here's a collapsing pocket. He did not have a lot of time, and he did not have a lot of open receivers last season. And one thing that was noticeable on the fan day, I'll go ahead and talk about this now, is that Ja'Cory Barney is shedding coverage like crazy, like coming out hard and just leaving and then making a cut and leaving these guys like stumbling 5 steps in the wrong direction. And Dana Holgerson has said on a couple of occasions, he didn't put it negative. He said he is playing faster now. He is running the routes. He's just playing the game faster. And last year, there were times where he wasn't getting open. And you could see it in some of these breakdowns. So that was kind of cool. I will post that, and so just kind of keep your eye on Coordination, Twitter, X, whatever, and you'll see it. Let's see. Yeah, this wouldn't shock me. Nebraska Strong says, I think that both teams will score over 30. Huskers 42-28 versus Cincy. We'll let the 2 points of math slide there. That kind of score wouldn't surprise me. It could. Now then again, it could be we stumble around, our defense is good, and let's just say win 20-17. Anyway, let's see. And then Pitt Snipe caught that Jack McGee was from Rescue Me. Great show, one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah, many says Huskers in the 40s. Yes, please. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Nebraska Strong figured it out. He was like, that's 40. Let's make it 42-31. Now we're over 30. Next thing we know, I almost had Boogie Nights was in a fight for 6th on my favorite Phillip Seymour Hoffman performances, because let's face it, Scotty was gross and creepy, and just fantastically so. That was an unbelievable performance. All of his performances are. I'm not just saying that. We were saying this about him when he was alive. Just pissed now we don't get to see any more of them. But Phillip Seymour Hoffman was just an amazing actor. He stole, like he did in a Bill Paxton movie, what Bill Paxton would usually do, and just stole scenes. All right, oh God, he's just like, all right, it's cool, and just the funniest guy. And hey, Meg, where's the cow? Oh, yeah, okay, but I got to stop doing that, because that leads to things like Boogie Nights talk. Let's see. Tiger Shark is saying 31-10. Beetlebee's going 35. Come on. Pitt Snipe said there's going to be blood on the field. 48-13. Man, this is quickly turning into oh God, what were those guys on Saturday Night Live? The Bears fans, the super fans. This is turning into the super fans. All right, let's see. Matt Rule, they'll just be afraid the minute they see that scraggly little beard, and he'll scare about 14 points out of them that they may have scored. So we're going to call that a shutout, and we're going to go. Let's see. We're going to go 72-3, Huskers. So I just liked how that score just kept it. 42-31, 31-10, 35-10, 48-13. Roll them. Let's see. What do we got here? 13 points worth of tuning up and finding out who's ready to step up. Oh boy, this will be good. Nads, not a dude. This guy would watch like the Husker receivers get blanketed and then just go, yeah, nothing out there but Nads, man, not a dude. That poor kid needs some dudes. And he goes and he says, and he talked a lot about Dane Key, saying that could be the dude. Didn't like seeing Dane Key on the exercise bike Saturday, but apparently he was sitting that out. I'm guessing some hammy knee, something to, ride the bike, get back out there. Let's see. What did he say? Oh, got another Navy man. I've been in the Navy pit, and I know the nasty stuff we pump into the ocean. So not swimming the ocean hurts my soul 0%. And the other thing, I'm hopeful that this has been dealt with, but the reason you didn't have like clear, lovely beaches off the coast of the U.S. like you go to, the Bahamas or Jamaica, and you can see the bottom, is because the hotels along the beach would just put pipes out about 400 or 500 yards and just pump all their crap into the sea. So yeah, the sea has been treated badly. Are y'all gonna beat Ohio State? Not this year because we don't play them, but championship game. Let's go. All right, settle down there. What did I have to bite my tongue on? I feel like I've done a few things there. I'm guessing the scout's talking about the girlfriend. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wait. Yeah, we don't play Ohio State. Oh, they're starting to do the points again. Here we go. Kaylee Bartles. Welcome. I remember Kaylee. I believe she's been here before. I feel like defenses are always better to start the year before the offenses go crazy in the third or fourth game. 28-21 Huskers. That's fair. This would be 45-21 if it were a mid-season game. Of course, then I always think back, though, to like West Virginia, Nebraska with Frazier, and Penn State, Nebraska, after the 2 yards out of bounds catch led to the win, and they came out and put 40 plus on. Of course, that was to be fair, that was a reload, well-oiled reload off Tom Osborne offense. So we definitely don't have that returning, but we could have something pretty good by the end of the year. I agree with that 45-21 midseason thing. Let's see. I'll let you guys deal with your points. Let's see. Michigan doesn't stand a chance. I hope not. I would love to come in for them to come in here and we give them a little something. Hope you play my Razorbacks. So Orson, Arkansas man, huh? I'm guessing. I don't know of any other Razorbacks, or at least none as high profile. God, yeah. One of the best articles I ever read about a football game was an old Dan Jenkins article, and I think it was the '69 Texas-Arkansas game. It was a Pole Bowl. It was number 1 versus 2 in the country in a regular season game, and Texas came rolling in to Fayetteville, and then President Nixon went to the game, and it came down to, and I think James Street ended up winning it for Texas by doing some heroic type stuff there at the end. But great article by Dan Jenkins, and just some of the comments. I think one of the Texas fans said something about Arkansas fans, and they don't do nothing but sit beside the road selling jelly or something like that. Oh God, gotta love it when the Southern teams fight with each other. Yeah. Oh, Nettie punching back at Kaylee for only 28. Yeah, I'm always the last few seasons, especially the fact we just don't automatically win our season openers anymore, leaves me a little more hesitant to talk as much shit. So get me back into put a bunch of points on the board. Get me back into shit talking mode. It just makes for a better season all along. Let's see. Get back to the movie here real quick. Nebraska Strong says, my concerns are Iowa and Minnesota and Penn State. Yeah, we are 1-9 against Iowa over the last 10, 3-7 against Minnesota, and I think the last 7 are 1-6, and not great. And Penn State, that's the game. I had one of those polls where having SB Nation is printing up little. We send them the questions. They print it up on some graphics, send us back. So we do some polls, and I did one. Which game is the most important? And basically, edging it out for the one with Cincinnati, just with a lot of people taking it, it's the next game, so it's the most important game. Can't argue with that logic. Michigan was in there because screw those guys, cheaters. But then I didn't get as big a bite as I thought he would on Penn State, because that's the one win that Penn State, there's a very good chance they're at least a top 5 or 6 team. And if we somehow go in and pull that upset, then that's the kind of thing that rocks the college football world, that makes them stand up and go, wait, what? We've been kicking Nebraska around for a decade plus now. Those days might be over. And so, because I just think that's the game that swings the pendulum and makes everybody kind of stand up and take notice. But yeah, Iowa and Minnesota, it's on paper should be winning all those games, and just keep finding ways to hand them away, because it's almost like Ferentz, and I was seeing it very actively with Ferentz in the most recent meeting, but Ferentz and PJ Fleck, I believe, are just, we're going to take almost no chances offensively, and we're just going to wait for these guys to step on their dicks, because they will, and we do. Always do. Here. I mean, what have we've handed Iowa the ball with under 40 seconds left for 2 years in a row now to go kick the winning field goal. I still remember watching it when my son and I were in Colorado and found a bar that would put the Minnesota game on for us, and it was that first game of the year, and we got our first dish of the Jeff Sims experience, and just watching turnover ball. So yeah, I feel like we'll protect it more, but God's sakes, just Okay. Let's get back to the movie. Mark where we are here. And I think I got what I want. All right. So we're talking about the second scout meeting where they're going to try and recreate Jason Giambi in the aggregate. And they're looking at Jeremy Giambi, his hardy little brother, Scott Hatteberg, played by Star-Lord Chris Pratt, and Dave Justice, who's 39 years old and picking up big Steinbrenner Yankee checks. And so they're doing that talk, how he gets on base. How do I care whether it's a walk or a hit, et cetera, et cetera. And when they get to Hatteberg, there's a funny moment. We haven't even seen Hatteberg yet in the movie, but he's like the last name he goes. He's writing down on little magnets and throwing them on their big board, and writes down. He goes, Scott Hatteberg, and somebody goes, who? And he goes, see, he sounds like an Oakland A already. And the thing he's got is a bunch of nerve damage in his throwing elbow, and he's a catcher. So they decide they're going to turn him into a first baseman. So that really goes straight into here. Scott Hatteberg is sitting at home with his wife and his baby girl or little girl, and he gets a call from Billy Beane, and hey, I wonder if we can talk about you being in Oakland A. And he's like, sure, when? He's like, well, I'm out on your porch right now. So that's how he knocks on the door. And he comes in there, and he's trying to lie and say his elbow's fine. And Billy's going, Scott, stop it. You're not a catcher anymore. Your days of catching are over. You can't throw. And so, but we're going to teach you to play first base. And he brings along with him his assistant coach, Ron Washington. And it's like, what was funny about Ron Washington is he's kind of a little bit of the comedy relief in this movie, but great coach. And in real life is the comedy relief. When this movie actually came out, he was now manager of the Texas Rangers, and was coaching or managing them in the World Series when this was released, or about to, in September 23rd, 2011. And so they're talking about, and then he was an assistant coach for the Braves for several years, was one when they won the World Series, and was just known for keeping everybody loose, keeping them rolling. Had a real special relationship with Ozzie Albies, their second baseman, who was about 22 at the time. And they said those two, he'd be hitting fungos, and they'd have all kinds of bets going. And they said those two just talk trash like you'd never heard it, like the 70-year-old coach and the 22-year-old player, and just laid into each other. But just you could just tell the two of them would just love the hell out of each other. And Braves not playing so well, and not I think just coincidentally, Ron Washington is not with the Braves any longer. He left them, I think, after the World Series. Might have gotten another managing job. So if that's the case, who can blame him? But we miss you, Wash, especially for scenes like this where I think what they were saying, he was asking, well, I've never played first base before. And Billy goes, it's not that hard. Tell him, Wash. And he goes, it's incredibly hard. And he goes, hey, anything worth doing is, and we're going to teach you how. And then he's thinking he's replacing Giambi, and he's like, well, God, what about the fans? And Washington goes, yeah, maybe I can teach one of them to play first. And Billy just goes, good one, and just keeps coming with the pitch. But they signed Hatteberg up, and in real life, Hatteberg actually that season, didn't really lead in anything, but he was among the leaders in the top 5 in several different hitting categories, and he was a steal. I think they got him for like $280,000, and there's, Giambi getting paid $20 million a year, and between Hattie and the other dudes, they are almost putting up Giambi numbers. So anyway, they got Hatteberg, and then here's where I just kind of roll the next few scenes out. It's like I made notes, and I'm going, okay, family time. The daughter sings the song. Funny thing there, I guess when she tried out with that song, the director was so impressed that he's like, well, you're getting the role and you're going to sing the song in the movie, even though in real life, I guess she didn't write that song until 6 years later. But he's like, nope, as far as we're concerned, that song's going in the movie. Did I enjoy it? I could take it or leave it, but I can see where white people would. And so, fun little time there. Fires Grady. That's the one where Grady's going, baseball's going to crap all over you when this goes wrong. And just talking to a boss the way a boss shouldn't be talked to, and then he's like, I'm not going to fire you. Then Grady like tries to grab his shoulder and alpha male him a little, and then like Beane shoves him off. He goes, now you're fired. He goes, because he did a fuck you, Billy, and he goes, now you're fired. So anyway, that let's see. Just making sure I don't lose my place here on the comments when we go back there. All right. So I've got fires Grady. There's preseason where they're trying to build Hatteberg's confidence up at first base. And, hey, picking man, that's away. And there's Wash and Billy Beane and Jonah Hill just sitting there clapping. And then, let's see, you got preseason ball. You got, let's see. Oh, and then you look and where they had hung the 3 banners. Now there's just one banner hanging, Dave Justice. Right now, let's talk about, well, no, I want to kind of save all the real life stuff. But having only Dave Justice out of everybody on that A's team, now that was freaking, yeah, now I'll use it. That was ludicrous. That was just absolutely ludicrous. Let's see. So got just Joe. And then Justice finds out they got to pay for their soda there. He ends up making a deal on one of his trades later in the season to, hey, and also you got to pick up my team's soda bill, and the guy does it. that was in there as just an example of how freaking cheap the A's were. The thing was, they probably weren't as cheap then as when they had Charlie Finley in the 70s, but that another story for another time. And anyway, okay, so they're telling him, he's telling Art how to play Hatteberg. You know, they lose their first 11 games. Let's see. And then Jeremy Giambi, they lose a game, and he's dancing around like a jackass, and so that pisses the shit out of Billy. So he trades him, and anyway, and then you have a couple of phone call scenes, like earlier in the season, I'm pissed at Giambi, and then I'm trading, and then that's also the one where they've got a first baseman, Pena, who's supposedly a Rookie of the Year candidate, going to be an All-Star. And Beane wants Hatteberg in there, wants Star-Lord at first base, and Art Howe, played by Phillip Seymour Hoffman, he is hating this from the beginning. He's playing the guys he wants to play. He's not playing them when and where Billy, needs them to play. So they're kind of at each other's throats. It's really low-level passive-aggressive stuff on both their parts. But Billy finishes one meeting with him where he's wanting to play him. He's like, well, I'm going to put the team on the field I want to put. I'm the manager. And Billy gets up and looks at him and just goes, you know what, Art, I love these meetings. After every single one of them, my love for the game is stronger. And then he turns around and does like this, like fun, Walt making fun of Howe. So yeah, they're definitely getting chippy with each other. So they're doing the phone call. So he trades Giambi and Pena, and then he gets it done. So can we get can we go ahead and announce this and get the paperwork rolling on? And he's like, yeah, but there's one thing. And he just hangs up. He goes, and Peter Brand goes, Jonah Hill, I think you hung up on him. He goes, yeah, we're done. I had my deal. There's no reason to stay on the line any longer. There's one thing too where he's like talking to the players, where he tells them they're giving you this stuff. Just if the other team is like, I guess it was an old Napoleon quote, but he said the other team is just sitting there like screwing up. Just do nothing. Sit back and let them give you what they're giving you. And like Kirk Ferentz and PJ Fleck come to mind again. So, but I remember the best part at the end of the first little round of deals is they're trading Pena, and Jonah Hill's starting to freak out now. This is one of the best, as far as the movie goes, one of the best players on their team. And he's going, man, he goes, this is the kind of thing where if it doesn't work out, you can get fired for it. And I was talking about, his response to that. And he said, but here's the thing, he goes, you're asking the wrong questions here. He goes, the question you need to be asking yourself is, and this should be every time you do something in life, do you believe in this thing or don't you? Do you believe in this? And and so it's sooner or later you got to throw down, you got to push the chips in. If you believe in it, then you make the move that your head is telling you to make, and don't make your move based on, well, what if it doesn't work? If you're doubting it can work in the first place, then it probably shouldn't be making. The doubt only creeps in this movie when, okay, this is getting real. We're really about to get rid of a good player from a guy that's barely playing. Okay, well, they decide they believe in it, and then you got you see like the montage, the team's coming together, the Billy Beane sitting there, and Dave Justice in one scene with him says, "You're not like any GM I've ever been around, coming around and talking to everybody about, your stats and your tendencies and all this." And that's true. It's like, but they're sitting there going, he's going to give you ball forward. Take the walk. You're telling us to walk. He goes, yes, take the walk. That's the one they focus on, just to simplify a more complicated thing they're doing. But, he's telling him at one point now, it's like, but if you go down 0-1, your batting average on the next swing has dropped 75 points. Now it's huge. It's a big advantage pitcher. Whereas you can get them to 1-0, not chase that pitch. Now your average goes up for the next pitch. So good stuff in the montage there. And then they also talk with Justice, where he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. It says, what you want to do is keep playing baseball as long as you can. And what I want to do is wring every bit of baseball, what little bit of baseball you got left in your body, I want to wring that out of you. So he goes, I feel like we're on the same page here, but just talks him into. But he goes, it'll mean a lot more if you start pushing what we're doing, which was big. If that was a true thing, I can't remember that from the book if that was an actual thing that happened or not. But that's great. It's like, yeah, get your most experienced guy in the clubhouse on board, and if he's talking behind the scenes without the general manager and the assistant general manager in earshot, it's going to carry some weight. And so that I'd like that scene. Don't care if it was true or not. I'd love that scene. Okay, then they go on their 20-game win streak. So after starting the season with 11 losses, which I don't think was in the movie or they didn't focus on it at all, they're going after the American League record for most consecutive wins. I believe the New York Giants with 27 hold the major league record. And then just so you know, in 2017, the Indians won 22 in a row to break the A's American League record that they set here. And here's one thing, for all the stuff that they kind of play fast and loose with on the facts, that game they almost play like pitch for pitch. When they're showing them play the Royals, they get up 11-0, and then the Royals come back and tie it. And then they're playing at home, and then Hatteberg bombs a homer. You can go on YouTube and watch the real life Hatteberg hit that, and it looks like they filmed that to probably within a foot of where that ball landed, and Hatteberg's doing the same exact, or Chris Pratt's doing the same exact stuff Hatteberg did when he was rounding the bases. And all right, I think those should be an indication you need a quick hiccup break. All right, one of these days I'm going to choke, and you guys will get to laugh at me for about 5 minutes while I'm gagging my way through this. But I can't help it. Propel, you know where I am. I'm ready to go. Let's do this sponsorship. But anyway, go watch that again sometime, because that Hatteberg shot. Oh, here's a shot of the guy, since we were just talking about it, played Dave Justice. And I was like, God, that guy looks a lot like Justice. Well, I guess he was, I don't know if he made the majors, but he played in the minors for several years, and the actor did. And so definitely there's a reason he's got a good-looking swing. But not only that, his nickname when he played baseball was Young Justice, just because he looked so much like Dave Justice. So I always thought that was pretty cool, so I got that. And while we're talking about who looks like who, and we were about to talk about Hatteberg's home run, or talked about it, on your left is Scott Hatteberg, and on your right is Chris Pratt. And darn if there's not a little resemblance there. Read a Chris Pratt story. I'm sneaking in the trivia here. He went to try out for it, and I'm guessing this is still in Parks and Rec days, and was told he was too fat. And I think that was kind of the deal too with Guardians of the Galaxy. Look, no offense, but we're not really looking for a chubby guy to play this, finely tuned athlete or big hunky sci-fi star. And so in both cases, he told him, look, I can lose this weight. So he basically turned around, lost the weight, sent a picture of himself to his agent with his shirt off, and the agent sent it back to the casting crew. Boom, hired on the spot. So they loved the personality. They just didn't want to, I guess, try and put like fake muscles under him or something, since they were going to be in short sleeves. So yeah, good for you, Scott Hatterbury, because they're not Scott Hatterbury. Chris Pratt. Stop it. What the hell's my alarm going off for? It's always fun here around Casa de Ketterson. But anyway, Chris Pratt also did that because when he was going for Guardians of the Galaxy, I think they too were dubious, but he showed him a picture of him because he was one of the Navy SEALs in Zero Dark 30. And they were like, and he's like, and I, he's like, I just do that for the show. I can be looking like that again, in short order. And so, congratulations, you're Star-Lord. So apparently he, can hit the gym when he has to. But yeah, that's just kind of wild how close some of those guys look. Let's see. So they end up, they lose their next game, and then here comes, and you think like, okay, well, you're not really thinking about the playoffs. You're like, well, maybe this is it. They're just going to kind of leave out that maybe they didn't finish that well or something, but it's going to end with setting the 20-game win streak record. But no, then they get an offer from, he gets a call from John Henry, played by, I think it's Arliss Howard, the owner of the Boston Red Sox, who offers to break the bank on him a little if he'll come be their general manager. And in that instance, though, he sits there, and you can tell this guy has just hired Bill James. And if you don't know who Bill James is, I'll try and make it quick. He started putting out this thing called the Bill James Baseball Abstract back in, I think the first one was 1985. And it's just throwing like wacky stuff at you. And I just picked a couple. One was, you have Deion Sanders coming along kind of right around or shortly after Bo Jackson. Everybody is just wowed by Bo, the catches, the throws, the speed, the tape measure home runs. But he wasn't that great a hitter. He actually made the presentation going, you're going to kill me for this, but it would be more valuable for you to have Deion Sanders on your team and he broke it down in fine fashion. Deion Sanders is more valuable to your team than Bo Jackson would be. And, some people just considered that heresy. My personal favorite was in the late 70s, early 80s, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Most people have heard of Dave Parker, the Cobra. I believe he just passed away recently, but played right field, just had a cannon for an arm. And then they had the center fielder, who I think Bill James described his arm as a wet noodle, or something like that, or some wet pasta strung together. And his name was Omar Moreno. And Omar Moreno led the majors, or at least the National League, in assists one year with 25. And an assist is throwing somebody out. In the outfield, it's just throwing somebody out, trying to grab second, third, or home. And meanwhile, Dave Parker threw out 5 people that year. And people were just like, God, that Omar Moreno must have a heck of an arm. And it was Bill James just coming at it from the different direction going, no, the reason he may throw 26 people out, but about 190 have run on him, and most of them have made it in easily because he just has a rag arm. But Dave Parker only has about 5 assists because nobody runs on Dave Parker. There's probably 2 people that made it. So it's he goes, it's ridiculous. There's well over 100 running on one guy, and everyone's scared of the other guy. There's just no stat for that, because there's not a stat for the things they don't do. So that was just an interesting way Bill James looked at things. Well, anyway, the Red Sox have hired Bill James. John Henry had even said, I can't believe that no one tried to hire this guy before. Well, because baseball didn't like the way he thought. And without really knowing it, this is like Billy Beane. Well, probably knowing it. I'm sure he was well aware of Bill James and had read his stuff. And he and the actual assistant GM, I think it was Paul DePodesta. And so they're coming at it now. They're the ones laying it on the line with the Bill James sabermetrics thing. And it really is. This is the first year, and if it blows up in their face, they might be right and just caught some bad luck, but there's not going to be a second year. But instead, they win 20 in a row. They win more games than they did with Giambi, with Isringhausen, and with Johnny Damon. So, and then they go to the playoffs, and I think they lost to the Twins in the first round. So then people still try to say, see, they still can't get out of the first round. And it's like, and I think it was John Henry in the movie that pointed out to Billy Beane that he goes, yeah, it's like I think they said the Yankees paid something like $2.2 million per run, while the A's paid $650,000 per run. So just a much more efficient thing. And then the Red Sox go on 2 years later, having gone the Bill James route to win their first World Series, and like beat the Yankees in the playoff, and then win the World Series for the first, break the Babe curse of 1919. And what that kind of showed maybe is that, yeah, the sabermetrics are great, but if you got the money and the Bill James think on your side, then you're going to win a World Series. And I always wondered if that was kind of a thing at the end. It's like, yep, yeah, they're challenging, but they're not, and he never did. Billy Beane never did get that World Series title in Oakland. I think he stepped away a few years ago, and he hangs around as an advisor, which is, I think, their nice way of paying him for services rendered. Kind of like how Nick Saban would hire all the coaches out of work, and give them an office and call them an advisor, kind of like we did last year. Still are. Yeah, we got Phil Snow, brought in Holgo. Sometimes it works, but anyway, he comes back home, tells Peter, we're at the end. He tells Peter, hey, here's how much he offered me. Oh boy. And he's still mad because he doesn't win. And this guy was an actual guy. The very last scene, Pete shows him this video of this guy in their farm system, Jeremy Brown, who was in the A's farm system then, and he is this big fat dude. And a lot of times, like, a guy like that wouldn't get drafted. He just looks too big. And they looked and saw that, well, he hits the living crap out of the ball, and he walks all the time on top of it. He's devastating at the plate, and so we're gonna roll the dice on this guy. And he shows him. He sits there and he bombs one beat, and he rounds first, hoofing it to second, and he trips and falls and wipes out. Comes crawling back to first, and there's like the guys in the field kind of laughing, and Billy Beane sees that and goes, "Oh man, they're laughing at it. Oh man!" And he said, "Yeah, Peter had said this is like all of his worst nightmares like come to life. The fat guy's going to trip and fall, and everybody's going to laugh." And he goes, "But what he doesn't know is why they're laughing, because the first baseman's just kind of like, yeah, hey dude, get up," and is pointing. He doesn't know that he's hit it out of the park, and he's rounding the bases, and the shortstop's giving him the go sign, and then high fives him, and he goes, "That's a metaphor, Billy," because he didn't know how. He was too busy worried about falling in the dirt. He didn't know how great he'd done. And then he goes, "It's a metaphor, Billy." And he looks at me. He's like, "I know it's a metaphor, Pete. I get it. Come on." And then that's basically your movie right there. And because Billy still doesn't like to lose. And then you see at the end that they lost. Yeah, like I said, they lost one more games in the year before, but lost to the Twins. But there we are. So let that soak in for a minute before we dive into our trivia here. And let's see what's going on with the comments. Let's see. I see Kaylee Bartles telling Orson, going, "Only the Red Wolves matter in this state." That's Arkansas State, right? Let's see. And here we go. Oh, wait, no, we saw that one. Yeah, Beetlebee, here we go. That always got to be somebody. It says, "What happens when we start losing games?" I got a drinking buddy, and he loves his Huskers, but they have done him emotional damage. And Quentin Ives gave they said they call it soft tissue injury. First day of practice, believed he gave his hamstring a tug, and they're just holding him out, which you should with hamstrings. And he's probably the number 2 running back spot. But he's just like, "I don't know, I don't like it," and you can just tell he's starting to go into, "Oh God, here we go" mood. So yeah, I believe it. What happens? We're not going undefeated. I think everybody knows we're gonna lose a game. Hopefully, there's nothing like an Indiana style loss this year. That was one. I'll say this for that 56-7 beating. there's times where I prefer that. That was a lot easier because that just became a farce after a while. It gets so bad. It's just all right. It can't get any worse. You've hit rock bottom. The pain doesn't hit nearly as badly as watching PJ or Kirk, boot one through the uprights for another 13-10 win as the clock runs out. Those hurt a lot worse. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Minnie says she doesn't believe Minnesota will be very good this year, but they never are. And yeah, PSU will be good and highly ranked. That's absolutely. Yeah, we need to get over this hump of what our record has been. We aren't the same team. Yeah, but you see, I don't think so either. I think that just from the way Rule has carried himself when I've been around him, he seems to be in a really good mood. Yeah, I think he thinks or knows, okay, in year 3, once again, I've got the team on the field that I want on the field. So, we'll see. But yeah, we're not the same team, Minnie, until we go out and not be the same team. And I hope that we've got our talent level too high for the curse to mess with. It'll be do we fire everyone? You got to see what happens. I don't know. This seems more like a bonus situation than a firing situation when this one's over. But either that or we're cursed and whatever. Let's see. Pit Snipe says we're slapping the poopies out of Iowa. Well, the state will be empty then. Oh no, you meant the game. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, Minnie says nope. Just keep on grinding, baby. Keep on grinding. Yeah, here's the one. Nebraska's lost 27 straight games at AP top 25. That's why I think the Michigan game is a little bigger because that's got them at home, got a winnable game. I mean, talk about a team that had offensive issues last year. Good Lord, they made us look like Texas Tech at times. But they're still going to be a good Michigan team, but they should be ranked. So I'd love getting off the can't beat a ranked team schneid against Michigan. Let's see. Strong. Talking Navy. Talking a lot of Navy. Spread, I'm not saying that one. And I don't say that too often. Okay. This is Fred. This one I think I can read. Anyways, I had an electronics-filled day, and Mo says I need to have an electronics-free evening, so we're outside drinking wine, listening to Dope Lemon. Later, taters. All right. Well, enjoy your Dope Lemon. It is nice to see Fred again. Let's see. Yeah, our season will be determined by the outcomes against Minnesota, Iowa, Penn State, Michigan, and USC. I'd probably not put Penn State quite on that list because I guess one way I put it is I said it's doable that we could go 11-1 with the one being Penn State, and we could win 11 games. But I said it's also eminently doable that we could lose 8. The truth is usually in the middle somewhere, unless you're going 3-9 in 2021, where it was definitely not in the middle. So yeah, I think that it's the middle. 8-4 feels right, and it doesn't feel like I'm stretching it a little. But I say we get 8 wins. Like yeah, that's what I kind of did last year. I think we can stretch it to 8. Hey, we got 7. But yeah, those Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan, USC. Yeah, those that could be 4-0. That could be 0-4, and that'll move the needle one way or another. Let's see. I don't know what this means. I just like it as the response, and I wonder what the pit's on tonight. SAC 93 Dakota Electronics are kicking my ass. Demon Machine. Yeah. I was going to say, Andy, let them screw up, taking a page out of the Ferentz playbook. Yep. That's all it really looked like he did last year. Just slam it into the line 3 times, punt it, and just let them be them. And it all started with that muffed punt where he missed it the first few times he tried to touch it, and then finally got a hand on it so they could recover. But my God. Okay, here we go. Nebraska Strong says, I could see us going as high as 11-1 if everything goes perfect, but as bad as 7-5 if the wheels fall off. Whereas I'm saying 4-8, if the wheels fall completely off. 7-5's 7-5 just need to tighten a lug nut or two. So here we go. 7-5 would be an extreme disappointment. Thing is, regular season wise, it would technically be an improvement, but we're looking for a bigger one. I get it. It will fall apart if we lose 4. I don't think so. I think people will be all right with 8-4. Especially, it'll knock us up a notch. We won't have to do another New York rainy bowl. Yeah. Oh, David Justice did pretty dang well for an athlete actor. That wasn't Dave though. But as I said, looked a lot like him. I did the double take there. I just knew that I think Dave was looking a little. Dave would have been a little bit older since that would have been 10 years after he retired, and that guy still looked pretty young, even though he's playing like a 38 to 40 year older. Oh, geez. Plus, one of our dogs snorting harder than Uncle Carl after a bad booger sugar, so I gotta monitor him. Let's see. Then Pitt figured out that wasn't David Justice. Hey, from what I've heard, you're not the only one to get fooled by that. That was a good look-alike. Let's see. Yeah, nothing beats the bad officiating Nebraska got at the Texas A&M game. Oh my God, 2010. Yeah, where they just smoked Tannehill, just a clean hit as he's letting it go and call a late hit. That was the one where I thought Carl Pelini was just going to commit a murder on the field. He was so mad. That was the final game ref by the Greg Burks crew that year, I believe, because he did the dirtiest ones. He did the Texas game, the Iowa State game, and the A&M game, and I think Nebraska was like well over 100 yards in penalties all 3 of those games. And if you took out those 3 games, they were like 3rd or 4th in the conference in fewest penalty yards. So it was a hit job. We know you. And for anybody that thinks it would be fun to go back to the Big 12, guess who the head of referees of the Big 12 is now? Like the director of officials is that piece of shit. All right. Let's see. We're talking some Benadryl. We still owe A&M. Damn it. Yeah, dude. Did we? No. Billy is still alive. Yeah, there wasn't a Billy Beane death, and even if there was, the women of this fine country were not about to let anyone kill Brad Pitt. So that's that. Let's see. Okay, this one from the dad jokes. Spoiler: Billy Beane. There's an E on the end too. No, there is. Actually shows up to a game. It rains. He sprouts and grows the mythical beanstalk. Boom. Let's see. Get a rim shot for that one. Steven said, I'd go to the movies to see that. I mean, in the beanpole, and might even splurge on some popcorn. And we got more compliments for Beatles puppy. Let's see. Mecca could bust out. Yeah, he could. Here's the thing is I've already sold on Quentin Ives. Nelson's been looking fantastic. And Connor Booth is looking really good, which was fun to see him break a long one. True freshman out of Wahoo. And he's like 6 foot 215, and he is quick and he is fast. True freshman. He's early enrollee. And EJ Barthel was talking him up in the spring, saying he was the real deal. And his stats were just ridiculous. And his last 2 years, I think he ran for like 2,200 yards or like 1,800 yards his junior year, almost 3,000 yards, like 2,982 or something, or like almost ran for 3,000 yards his senior year. And I think scored 51 touchdowns in those 2 seasons. And he looks like, I think he's going to be playing this year because Holgerson talks about getting 4 backs deep. I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see him. Talking about Penn State here. Let's see. I was expecting that fist fight in 2002. Only Penn State made it a good whiteout game, and Nebraska got crushed. And didn't we get him back the next year? I thought we got him back the next season. But I guess they said they've already got Oregon as their whiteout this year. Yeah, we don't need whiteout heat right away. Yeah, let us take a step back. That's a little scary there. Those freaks. You know what they'll do? They get a hold of you. I don't come with dad jokes often, but when I do, I come hard. Don't we all? Connor, a real lunchbox guy, real worker. Oh, yeah. No. No, this is athletic talent. This isn't like, not 90s white boy speak. Oh, yeah, he's a grinder. And then, but that fellow Jamarcus in front of him now, he's just a natural athlete. Yeah. Hopefully those days are about done. But yeah, Connor's got some speed and he's got some moves. He might be a little second coming a Rex Burkhead. And that might be that's shooting high, but I like what I saw. Said what? Makai's dad might be starting up a podcast. Keep an eye out, folks. Well, let's see. All right, let's start rolling it in towards the finish line. Tell you what, first thing we got to do, let me get my coaches ready. Go through the categories here. Give it a rating. First one, comedy. There's not really any unintentional comedy here. This is a solid, well-made movie. It's funny, and I'm not gonna go real strong on it, but I'm gonna go Pelini. I'm gonna go 3 because they are. There's the scene with Pratt. That's probably the biggest laughs. But Billy's always he's cracking a lot of jokes. And I got a big kick. I got some big laughs in the what do you call it, the scouts room. So I'm going to give that a solid 3. It's not a comedy, but it's got some good humor. The sports quality, they just don't play a lot. They don't show a lot. There's some. It's not like where they're taking you through a game. They've got the one game, the Kansas City game. And it's good. I'm gonna Pelini that, because I'm not really gonna score them when they're using like actual footage because that's cheating. But I'll go 3 there. But it's a light one, just not enough. Music. I'm gonna give it a 4 for one reason. It gets the Devaney for one reason. I love that score they play. Oh God, I can't think of the group. It's one of those kind of techno. I don't know what you'd call them, like a techno classical type group, but good stuff. And it's just this real deep dun 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 when Hatterberg hits his home run. So I'm going to give it a good score just for that one scene. I know I should stretch it out for the whole movie where music's not really playing a huge part. And give it a Solich, but we'll give it a 4 there because actually some of the backup stuff when they're talking and thinking and montaging and driving around isn't bad. I'm not really giving any points for the little girl song. You guys can just score that for yourselves. Okay, she's a very sweet little girl in the movie. She might be awful. She may have had a horrible drug habit. You don't know. I don't know. Terrible things could have happened. Okay. Anyway, the next quality are adrenaline scenes. And there's only one really, and still, you know what? I'm going to spread that out a little more. There's not a lot of adrenaline stuff going on, but they nail the one they got. And what I'm saying, a Pelini is like the 3-star. If you're Pelini or higher, you're doing well. So, but it's not quite the natural where Roy Hobbs gets two of his classical music. Shots for the bombs flying out and smashing out the lights at the one place at the end. That's like your 5-star adrenaline. That might even be 4-star. 5 stars like Rocky IV. The Tin Cup was a 5-star. Just stuff where, oh shit, you're into the games. I've said before, I caught shit for not rating The Sandlot higher on my top 50 sports movies list. And I'm like, but nothing really happens. I mean, it's fun. It's a great movie. It's enjoyable. But the time if you're getting tensed up about anything, you're wondering if the St. Bernard's going to eat Benny the Jet. And we all know that in a happy movie like The Sandlot, the St. Bernard's going to eat Benny the Jet. We all know they're going to be friends sooner or later. He's a big old fluffball doggo. He's not going to eat the Jet. And then we have, let's see. Yeah, adrenaline scenes. Okay, gave that a bow. Montages. This might be a bow night for a lot of this stuff. Doesn't mean the movie's a 3. It just means a lot of these categories are. We're going to see a lot of bows mugged there. A bow and a rare moment of smiling. Who doesn't want to see that? But we got bow there because the montage when they're going through, it's sort of a talking montage. They've got the music going, but then also they're talking to the players. They're going through the stats. They're teaching them where to watch, stuff like that. That was a good, solid montage. Then I think they and then they're winning games and all that. So we'll give that a 3. Rewatchability. I almost want to go bow again, but I think I'm going to notch that up to Devaney. I hadn't watched it in a while, but then I realized, and naturally the time I do it, it's not streaming for everybody. It's right now, it's not even on Tubi. It's everything's on Tubi that's not on, Amazon and the other major streamers, but it's just your $3.79 at Amazon. But anyway, I realized that I had been, when it was streaming, there's Moneyball, and I'd flip it on, and I watched it a lot more than I thought. So yeah, that's a 4-star. That's a Devaney. And then finally, we have an interesting thing. I have the category, is this worthy of an Oscar reboot? Was this movie, left at the curb Oscar night because they don't like sports movies? Well, here's the thing. This one didn't get left at the curb on Oscar night. Holy shit. I started going through the Oscars. I knew it had been nominated, but it got nominated for Best Picture, and also one of those that somehow it directed itself. Director didn't get nominated. Pitt got a nod for Best Actor. I wasn't expecting that. Jonah Hill got a nod for Best Supporting. And who else was nominated? The guy who got royally screwed out of a Best Supporting Oscar, Nick Nolte for Warrior. I think that comes along in 12 or 13, I'm sorry, that was 11. It was actually at this one. Yeah, Nolte was unbelievable in that. He won, I think, the whatever that one where the one where they all get drunk and give awards out that can be a precursor for Oscars. He was fantastic. I'm still furious about it. Warrior is a legit top 5 sports movie of mine. It'll be here sometime, and I just wanted to rage about Nolte getting screwed again. But Moneyball, you're welcome. Moneyball also got nominated for editing, sound mixing, and then Best Adapted Screenplay. So, and I don't think it won any of them, but yeah, it got nominated for 6. So, no reboot necessary. Respect was given to Moneyball. Good on you, boys. All right, so that's the categories. Let's hit the comments again. We'll do this. We'll do comments here. We'll go through trivia, and then we'll hit the comments. And then if anyone wants to hang around, talk a little Husker football. Tonight's going long. I've forgotten how much fun Moneyball was, but we got people talking again, and I'm loving that. So, what do we got? Matt, we finished out with Mackay Nelson's dad. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They didn't have how to pronounce it on the roster. I was actually down there in the press room killing time this morning, and I'm like, oh, is it Mackay? Is it Mecky? And I'm thinking Mackay. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, his dad was going to start up. Let's see. He says he can see Booth being a Scadaboo. I don't think he's going to be that big, and I'm thinking he's more of like an action back. He's not going to be the bowling ball man. He's gonna get some yards. It may not happen this year, but I think we're gonna see him, and we'll definitely get a look at him in those Akron and Houston Christian games. Pit Snipe. Oh, there you go. Where's Miley? We should talk trash about her. I'll let her know. Maybe I'll see if I can drag her on one of my last 2 or 3. I think we got 3 left maybe. I'll see if I can drag her on. Oh boy. If not, you might have to wait for softball. Let's see. Tiger Shark says, I had classes with Rex at College of Business, at UNL in 2010. Nice guy, shorter than I thought. Yeah, my guys, damn, I'm not letting you know how old I am, but the guys I had classes with, I remember, were Rod Smith and Bob Sledge, whose son Sam is moving up the offensive line charts. Let's see. Yeah, that's the nicest face I ever seen Bo make. Yeah, people just wanted to see Bo when he was in his, slightly upset moods, shall we say. Yeah, Pitt Snipe, Rex was just a dude. What do you say? Roy was a dude. Rex was a sidekick. You know what's funny is, was it Roy, Rex, and Amir, and they were all kind of connected. I think wasn't Rex was there with Amir, or maybe Roy and Rex were for a bit. Those dudes were like the middle three in career Husker rushing yards. They're like fourth, fifth, and sixth. They're fifth, sixth, and seventh, something like that in the top. They're all in the top 10. So yeah, I don't think anybody was anyone's sidekick in that group. Man, Roy went out with a bang though, didn't he? Holy crap! He was finishing on fire. We would have been Big 12 champions if Sean Watson hadn't decided, hey, you know what? We're up 17-0 on Oklahoma and running wild on their ass. Let's start throwing the ball. Let's get some 3 and outs with incomplete passes. And I still remember a comment I saw somewhere around that time where a guy went, Watson is the type of guy who would then run for 400 and pass for 0. And that was too close to that Oklahoma game, so that one hurt. But holy cow, yeah, they were all dudes. I liked them all. I mean, they all had like maybe a little flaw here or there. Amir's was he tended to cough it up in traffic. I think his last 2 years, even though he was a first-team All-American, he was leading the NCAA with 6 lost fumbles on the season or something like that. Oh, I would almost just say Andre the Giant's in it. Princess Bride is a sports movie, but it would have to be a 2-parter. There are just too many good stories to go along with what the fun would be of breaking down the Princess Bride. What did it say? Roy Hulu Jr. is currently serving as lead pastor at City Light Bennington Church in Elkhorn, Nebraska. Well, Roy, I tell a few of this since it's just a couple of friends here on a Tuesday night. But we told you Miley got engaged. This guy is going to get himself ordained and perform the service. What do you think of that? I will be serving as a lead pastor at some sort of wedding hall. So keep that in mind, y'all. All right, let's see. Oh, he says, I was there the night Sue got into trouble. I can't speak on that night. Laugh out loud. Well, no one. I didn't hear of any deaths being floated around his name, so we'll just say that was a lucky break for somebody. Thing is, I think Marlon Lucky could have been damn good. He was just getting hit. Felt like I was impressed by him. It seemed like he was always getting hit 3 yards deep and turning it into a 2-yard gain after contact. And didn't he have one? I thought one season he really broke out, and he was he wasn't just running, but he was like catching everything, and ended up with 1,800, maybe close to 1,900 total yards. So anyway, like this, and that's all I got to say about that. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. There's actually a quick story about that. Thank you. Yeah. Dudas is another option. Jedi Knight's definitely in play right now. Yes, to jump back to Marlon for a second, he could throw the ball, but no. What happened was we had talked about it, and I was joking. Yeah, anybody can do that. Maybe I should do it. Well, then Connor and Miley and I are at my mother's house, and my sister's over there, and they're like, "So are you going to do it?" And I'm like, "Do what?" Get ordained and marry us. And I'm like, and it was just the classic, you was serious about that? And yeah, they were. And I look, and I'm like, well, this will end pretty quickly, because I'm not going to, there's a group that if anyone decides they're mad about it or thinks it's like a joke, then, I'm not going to try and upset anybody. So I figure I go to my sister and my mother, and so you're going to put the kibosh on this? No, this sounds good. Okay. So then I went to Connor and I'm like, have you talked to your parents about it? And I think he said, Mom wants to make sure there's like a Bible verse in there, but other than that, shit, we're on board. Oh, so then the ex-Mrs. Ketterson, Miley's mother, and we get along fine. But I was like, so have you talked to your mom about this at all? Because, obviously I don't want to upset the mother of the bride. And she's like, no, she says she's down. And I'm like, okay, so this is happening. This is actually going to happen. Okay, so I have made that promise. It's about a year from now. I think we're about a couple days inside of a year. It's in early August next summer, and we will be getting it on. So here we go. This is some fun trivia stuff here. One thing I found out about Brad Pitt was I was looking for my Brad Pitt favorite movies on his IMDb, and I saw that he played party guest. He played a party guest in No Way Out with Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman, and then again played party guest with Less Than Zero, starring Robert Downey Jr. when Robert Downey Jr. was quite often a party guest himself. Okay, so yeah, that gets his career started basically just being good looking enough to be party guest. And kid, don't talk. Dodger Stadium. Okay, the movie with a $50 million budget apparently didn't have much of a travel budget, so they apparently couldn't afford to shoot scenes in 8 different stadiums. So where they showed them playing in the movie. So Dodger Stadium was dressed up as 8 different stadiums, and it's one of your 60s bowl, 50s, 60s bowls, so it could fit a lot. Let's see okay. Oh, I actually told the ugly girlfriend story. Now Billy Beane in the movie. Now we can start getting now the stuff from the movie that's not true. He was like the lone divorcee and hanging around, with his wife and her. I don't know. I didn't want to like him. he just seemed like too much of a weenie, for lack of a better. I guess we should have talked about that cell phone. Oh, Billy. Oh, okay, next time. Well, shut up, hippie. But anyway, Billy Beane had actually remarried by the time that season rolled around, so he wasn't running around being lonely Billy, single Billy Beane like they kind of portrayed him in the movie. Scott Hatteberg, they made the big deal about how he couldn't catch grounders and he was terrible at fielding, and we got to talk him into this. His fielding percentage for 2022 was .994, which was one above. Like first baseman fielding percentages are always high because they just get to catch all the putouts at first. But still, it's not like he was booting everything. He did not make many errors. Paul D. Podesta, Peter Brand character. People have said, oh yeah, he didn't like it. He didn't want his name used. Come to find out, he didn't want his name used in the movie, so that's why they turned Paul D. Podesta into Peter Brand. But they said he was actually he was consultative on. He was always always really helpful and nice about helping out. So no, there were no issues. He just didn't want the movie for whatever. Now we get to the meat and potatoes. Yeah, you would think that the heroes of this team were like Scott Hatteberg, Chad, what was his name? The submarine pitcher, Chad, not Bosworth, Chad Bradford. I knew I'd get there. Guys like that, and then this Pena, dude at first base. Well, here's who they kind of left out, is that it was one of the greatest pitching rotations of all time. They didn't miss Jason Isringhausen because then they had Billy Koch as their closer, and they were fine there. But they had Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson, and Barry Zito, who all won 15 or more games. Zito won 23 games and the Cy Young Award. And then on offense, they had Miguel Tejada and Eric Chavez. Chavez had 34 home runs and 109 RBIs. Tejada had 34 home runs and 131 RBIs and won the MVP. So they had the MVP and the Cy Young winner, and you barely hear their names mentioned in the movie. I think they maybe show the back of Hudson's jersey once. They show Tejada making the last out of an inning. Just weird. So Grady Fuson was that was his real name. He was the scout that got fired for getting in a blow up with Billy. Actual guy. He actually returned to the A's in 2010. They hired him back. He said he liked the movie, but he said the part about about dropping f-bombs on his boss. He said that's kind of hard to watch, and he still hasn't decided when his grandson is old enough to watch the movie. But yeah, kind of nice to see a happy ending there. Everybody kissed and made up. Apparently, Tejada fought Moneyball. He didn't like the concept of it. He had a saying like, "Man, you can't walk off an island. You gotta sail off. You gotta sail one, put one in the air to get off the island." But I think they showed Tejada in there at one point though, and he was saying no more stealing bases, and Tejada pipes up. But that's why you signed me. He goes, "I signed you to get to first, not to get thrown out at second." And I didn't actually go digging to see just what his steals were and everything. But they did say, yeah, Tejada not down with Moneyball. He's not really there. Let's see. We talked about Scott Boras. Okay, here's another one. Like Art Howe and Billy at each other's throats, really quietly, but are just arguing, Howe, I don't want these players. I'm not going to play these guys. Yeah, real life Art Howe was down from the jump. He was down with Moneyball right away. There was no friction between Billy Beane and Art Howe. So, and then Pena, their Rookie of the Year candidate, their All-Star, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't very good when they traded him. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't Art Howe was not playing this, future All-Star. Said he went to Detroit and then turned it on in Detroit, and at that point, kind of turned into an All-Star player. I think I can't remember if he got Rookie of the Year or not, but at least became a Rookie of the Year contender after the A's traded him. Was not a Rookie of the Year contender with the A's. And then A's also said had the best defensive infield in baseball, maybe, or at least the American League. So, they, Hatterberg wasn't booting anything anywhere. He was actually played a really good first base, it sounds like. Ron Washington was I think I talked about. He was managing the Rangers in the World Series when the movie was released. The Braves still miss him. Wash come home, and just loved his character. They said, like I said, that might have been pretty spot on as far as his character, because he loves to talk shit and with a smile on his face. And then they acted like Justice. They were like, Justice can't. He plays a right fielder. He doesn't know about playing first. And they're talking beginning of the movie. The scouts, hey, these guys can't play first. Which again, bullshit. While Justice was waiting for, I don't know if it was if Murphy had been moved to right, because he started out as center fielder for the Braves. But I think he was waiting for Dale Murphy to get moved or retire. But they wanted him in the lineup, so he played first base for the Braves. I think for maybe a year and a half or two, but he was not. First base wasn't a foreign country to him either. Arliss Howard, who played, I thought this was fun, and also I just mentioned The Sandlot. Arliss Howard played John Henry, make your hammer jokes, in the movie, the owner of the Red Sox, and he also plays adult Scotty Smalls, the sports writer, at the end of The Sandlot. That's your future Boston Red Sox owner. Let's see. Oh, they have Billy has lines like, "This is the Yankees. This is such and such. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then we're down here. That's us at the bottom." And I read that that was actually taken word for word of when Rachel was wanting to go get Ross back in Friends and was bitching to Joey, and then I think that Ross had started dating another girl. So she gave that, there's this and 50 feet of crap, and then there's my life or whatever. So she almost did it word for word. And hey, up until 2007 or something, Brad Pitt was married to Jennifer Aniston. Crazy. And then, this was kind of funky. I did not know this before either. So Scott Hatterberg, on the home run he hit, he didn't bring his bats to the dugout. Apparently, it was just a scheduled night off, so he wasn't expecting to hit. So then he goes up to the plate, and he doesn't have one of his bats. And these guys are contracted to use these bats, and through the company, and you're not supposed to use any other bats. So he realized he didn't have a bat, didn't have time to run back to the clubhouse and get his. So he borrowed a bat. It wasn't from the line of bats he used. hits the home run. That company finds out about it. He got fined $500 for not using one of his bats. I just think that's funny. The record-setting home run cost him $500. So, and that's it. That is all the trivia we got. Did I have anything else written? I sometimes just write shit in the corners as they occur to me. Quick reminder: remember, it's Goon next week. If you want to give that a watch, it's right up there with like North Dallas 40 Major League Slapshot as far as the bawdiness of the humor, boys and girls. So yeah, it gets quite filthy, but most people laugh too freaking hard before they start worrying about, wait, what did he just say? Yeah, there's a couple of really creepy Russians on his minor league hockey team, and that's also based on a true story. That's based on a real guy. So let's check the comments and see where we are. Okay, we're talking. I left y'all hanging with my impending my impending white collar. So let's see. Oh, and this is the first question I got, and I always get this question. So you're gonna walk her down the aisle, then perform the service. I like it. 100%. That's the plan. It's gonna be, yep. You stand here, step aside. I'm taking over now. Daughter weddings amid split families, always fun. Yeah, that's the thing is I tell people I had one of the easiest divorces I think imaginable. It's not anything I'd want to go through again, but my God, I hear the horror stories from others, and I'm just, you know what? I came out pretty lucky on this. I think we all did. Let's see. Awesome, Andy. When did you first get married? I'm 34 and thinking about it. Let me do the math because I'm thinking I was pretty close to that. Let's see, 64, 90. I was about, you know what? I think I was 29. I think I was 29 when I got married. We'd gone out for several years. So yeah, my daughter announced her wedding date a year from now. Her sister announced a wedding date as a week prior, after Allie announced hers. Maybe fatalities. Dadding is fun. My sister, so Miley group texted a bunch of the family the wedding date, and my sister said, well, Chris has this something, her boyfriend, something, and unfortunately we won't be able to make it. And then I'm just like, oh God, okay, let's just see. It's like I knew she was kidding, but yeah, it was tense in text world for a few minutes. Pit Snipe says, don't do it, TSD. Why not, Pit Snipe? Just a punchline, TSD. You do you, boo-boo. Girlfriends and wives are great till they're not. Oh, God, Tiger Shark. No, I honestly want to know. See, we don't know her. What we would do is you would have to bring her around. We would talk to her for 20 minutes and make up our mind right then. I had a friend, Matt, and he introduced me to his girlfriend, Andrea. And I think it was when, it was at the Red Eye Tavern. I don't even know if that's still open. I don't think so. But anyway, so there's a bunch of us in there. I think it was after an Omaha Lancers game or something. And so I've had a couple of sodas at the game, maybe a few before. And we meet in there, and I'm greeted by, hi, I'm Andrea. And before I could stop myself, I went, oh, hello, Andrea, I'm Andy. And she took it exactly as you would expect someone who takes her name Andrea very seriously would take it. She hated me, and then I found out later from Matt's mother, who I had not yet met but have come to call a friend for life, is when when I finally did get to meet her later, when they broke up. Let's see, or what did they do? They broke up, got back together, then I think broke up for good. But in the middle of that, after they had broken up, I meet Matt's mom, and she sees me. She's like, "Oh, Mom, this is Andy," and she went, "Is it Andy?" Because she hated she hated Andrea too. And yeah, I try not to do those kinds of things anymore. But you know what? I wasn't wrong. It doesn't mean I should do it. So kids, don't do it. If you meet Tiger Shark's lovely lady, and you can tell that he'd just rather set him, wish himself to burst into flames, then you keep that to yourself. Oh God! So now we're letting fly. Just a joke. I chose poorly. I can't put my bullshit on UTSD. You're 34 and you ain't dumb, so pick one. I trust your judgment now more than mine on this topic. We all trust his judgment more than yours, Pitt. Oh God! But then he's thank you, Pinstripe. I'm not sold either. Welcome to all the right movies where relationships go to die. Oh my God! Let's get past some of this because I want to talk football for a few minutes. And holy crap! Good night. We're on 2 hours with the comments rocking again. Yes, Red Eye at 84th and Center down there. I think like Canfield's was down there. But yeah, that exact little strip mall. I said I dated a girl there that worked named Nicole, ran track at UNO. Oh, running track, nice. All right, let's see. Real quick before I leave, nothing really like earth-shaking. I really like the kids they're sending in to be interviewed, the young men, our Huskers. But then you see them and you realize, yeah, they're monsters, but they're 20, 23. The old ones are 24. I got to see Riley Van Poppel come out for the second time. He came out in the spring once too. Good dude, fun guy. He sneaks in some jokes. Andrew Marshall made his first appearance today, and I think you could tell he was a little nervous. Very quiet, soft-spoken guy, but comes off as a really good dude. And we're hoping that he can throw some highlight reels on there. Yeah, we were asking, hey, what's it like coming from, say, Boise or wherever Idaho, the University of Idaho was, how adjusting to Lincoln. But then I look and I'm like, he grew up in the LA area. This isn't the big old city to him. John Butler is out there. He's fun. What's funny is this is a guy, he's like me in social situations where you can see he's trying not to curse, and he let a little one slip today and then kind of goes, hey guys, sorry about that one word at the end. We're all friends here, right? He just, I can see why the kids like playing for him, and they talk about his intensity, and he looks like he's holding back. I think Eckler's still winning that award, but they were talking about Terry Braden. I think he said, it looks like Braden, but I think it's pronounced Braden, and got to meet him in the spring shortly after his hire. And you talk about a guy who's just up, energy, and now we're listening to like Elijah Judy was there with Van Poppel today, so we asked him about Braden, and they're like, oh my God, the guy's just always up. You just want to be around him. Just a lot of fun, a lot of energy. He's just, just one of those guys. And they say the same thing about Butler. They're like, oh my God, it's like he gets so excited, and he's just like a just football nerd too. And just has the energy going, and then I think what I was describing, or I think it was Judy going, oh yeah, it can get a little chaotic out there at times when he gets wound up. And he said the thing he misses the most, because someone beat me to it, I wanted to ask him just, how he's settling in as a coordinator again. I think the last time was like 13 years ago or something at Penn State. And ever since then, it's been, defensive backs. And he said, what I miss is I can't just work directly with the guys near as much as I used to. And so he's like, I'm trying to get with them, outside of football meals and stuff, and make sure I'm still talking to them and everything, because it's not happening on the field. I think he called it the burden of you're in the burden of not responsibility, but preparation, you're the burden of organization. So as you're spending all your time making sure everything's organized, football's got to be, for me, the toughest game to be a head coach for, because there's just too many guys. I mean, you're not going to 225 guys on your roster this year. And I know you want to try and find a moment with at least with each of them, but it's mostly going to be the top units. that he's hanging around, and even then, he's one that's not going to be constantly with the players. So I know he goes out of his way to do that. So yeah, interesting listening to them talk. The fan day. One thing I will say, and it's not a secret, but you can just tell Dylan is the man. It's like this. It's a sophomore, and you saw him like leading last year as a true freshman. He's a sophomore, and he is just light years ahead of the other quarterbacks, and that's not a slam on them. I think this is the most talent that Rule has had in the quarterback room total since he got here. So, but he just his throws. He looks a little quicker on his feet for sure, and then just the way he carries himself, his body language, the way he carries himself on the field, the way he interacts with everybody. This is his team, his offense. We won't, throw. I don't want to piss anyone on the defense off, but it just looks and feels like his team. Behind him, they still got Gramstead, and I'm just going. This is the first time they wouldn't let us shoot it, but they ran like a four or maybe a 3-drive scrimmage, and I just kind of like, well, I'm gonna say that the order they're going in is their depth chart. So Dylan comes out, marches him down, and then Gramstead still came out number 2. They said in spring he's number 2 because he's the only one of the 3 other guys that knows the offense, and I guess there's 5, a couple of walk-ons. But so Gramstad's number 2, and then TJ Lateef came out at number 3, and Marcos Davila at number 4. And my thought was, but is Gramstad? I get it. He's number 2 now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out first, if things get away in any of the first 3 games. But I just have this feeling that, you know what? Even having a smaller group of plays, but having the talent, the arm talent, foot talent that TJ Lateef does, I would rather. Well, not so much what I'd want, although it is the same thing. I would think that, let's say something happens to Dylan in a Minnesota game, we're going to see maybe TJ Lateef instead of Jalen Gramstead. Jalen's not a big guy. They list him at 6 foot 200. That seems to be stretching it a little. Davil is pretty huge, like Dylan. He's probably about 6'2", 230, 235, something like that. But I'm telling you what, every one of them, and I would go Lateef, Davila, Gramstead in that order, but every one of them can throw the ball pretty damn well. Lateef can spin it pretty tough. I like the idea of him stepping in if Dylan, like, say, leaves after year 3, if it comes down to that. Who else? I talked about Connor Booth. Emmett looks bigger, faster. He's catching everything. I would say I would be stunned if he didn't easily clear 1,500 total yards. If he stays healthy, and that's even if he's just carrying it maybe 15. I don't know if he'll get to 20 times a game. I still think he'll get to 1,000 yards rushing, but he is burning anybody but defensive backs trying to cover him. Can't cover him coming out of the backfield. So, and I think Holgo knows that, and he's going to be fun. The wide receiver room, and I did a little article just with like hit a couple of things, like I think maybe the QBs and the running backs. But my thought on the wide receivers is you got like Dane Key and Jacory, who seem to be the top 2 just based on their experience. You know, Bonner's a little behind that, you know, but he wasn't quite a go-to. But what we have is like not much experience, but what looks like a shit ton of talent. I mean, they moved Mosey to running back. And after this, I'll stop and check some of your comments on this stuff. But let's see. You get past Dane. Oh, Dane was on the bike Saturday. Please don't be hurt. Just let it be a little thing. But Isaiah Hunter, boom. Mosey. I think Dylan dropped a dime on Mosey on a deep ball. Who am I thinking of? Who else am I thinking of here? Let's see. Tiger asked what Mosey's weight is. I think they said he's 200. I think they said Mosey's 200. No, not Mosey. I'm thinking of the kid from Oklahoma. Oh God, there's so. I'm having trouble remembering all their names. I had I've had the roster just like popped up all the time, and I was carrying my sheet around Saturday. But Cortez Mills caught a deep one. But there's like 5 guys that don't have the experience, but somebody's going to have it and make a big leap by the end of the year. At least one of them. Jeremiah Jones is another one who's looking tough. On the defensive line, I think it's a freshman from South Dakota, maybe. And they said he's already just showing a bit like an amazing just jump off the snap, like Cade something. Cade Petrzik, something like that. They said that kid has some strength and some burst in him. So might want to keep an eye on him, because man, that'd be wild to see a defensive lineman get in there and start tearing it up as a true freshman. Butler said he really likes his linebackers. They're young, but they're really good. So he seems pretty excited about his defense. And Sayre Wright, they mentioned how all the guys kind of taken over the leadership, and Sayre Wright really seems to be one who's jumping in, trying to help the younger guys out. And Andrew Marshall, being a new guy, called him out. One thing, though, is you ask these guys about the transfers, and Rule was one where they say that they all integrated so quickly, when they got here in January, that even by, when spring ball started, it was like they'd been part of the team. And they said now everybody, they haven't even thought of it as being as transfers. It just seems like they've been around forever. They asked Andrew Marshall. I'll finish on this one, and then we'll check the comments and get out of here. But Andrew Marshall mentioned, somebody asked him, what's the difference, when you get here between, say, Idaho and Nebraska? Or no, this was what they asked. I'm sorry. He had something like that too. This is what they asked Addison Williams, the cornerbacks coach. He just goes, oh my God, the culture here. The culture, these guys, they're just, you can just tell. It's like, they're all in it as one. They're just all there for each other all the time. They do anything for anybody else on the team. And he said, he goes, I got to be careful, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm, bad mouthing any of the former teams I've worked at. But he was like, yeah, he just goes, he's never really been around one like this. And I think that's the thing that's that's the kind of thing that's going to push it over this year, because teams like that, when something goes wrong, tend to keep their heads a little better. But we were almost there last year several times. Let's check some last few comments and see what we got. Idaho State's in Moscow. Oh man, quadruple murder. I didn't need to know that. All right, let's see here. Yeah, well, Williams and Nwaneri, they Butler talked about him, and they're like, so what's he, where is he, what kind of, is he going to be getting some playing time, and all this, and Butler's like, oh, he's going to get playing time. So Butler did, he, without saying, I think this guy's got his starting job locked up, basically said he's got his starting job locked up. But yeah, but he was just like, oh, he's getting playing time. Don't you worry. So I thought that was fun. I'm glad you brought in Wanry up. They did talk about him. I have faith in Terry Braden. Our defensive line starts the year as a question mark, but ends the year with 3 on the all-conference list, including honorable mention. Riley Van Poppel talked about that some, said that they're playing a little, they said, nothing against Nash, but, they hear it all the time, Nash are gone. And it says, no, I love those guys. But he goes, but yeah, we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. We know we can do this. And so they'll be trying to, they'll be getting after it. He said, Van Poppel said that, he might not necessarily be one of them at a defensive tackle spot, but he said he's really impressed with their pass rush. And he says they've looked in the record book at like all the defensive, like single game and single season records. And he's like, we're coming after those. We want those records. It's like, we think we can be that good. So pump some Kool-Aid, maybe add some vodka. They are It was pumping through my veins after that. But yeah, Terry Braden, man, had nothing but great things said about by chief defensive lineman, where he was an assistant D-line coach. And apparently, it sounded like they were really sorry to see him go. And you had Karloftis, whoever their one stud is, or just like Braden's the best. And you can hear the players saying that. They just said it's not just his energy. He's got a deep knowledge for the game. Oh yeah, when I think they asked Andrew Marshall about Eckler, and he's like, "Oh my God." So I think Eckler still wins the adrenaline trophy from the players. Yeah, let's see. Expensive Kool-Aid, fancy. Yeah, but yeah, Mosey. I want to say Mosey's around 200, 205. Okay, yeah. Coach said Jeremiah Jones is a freak. 6'4", 2,225 pounds. No, I saw you corrected it. I was just having some fun. This is what I call hardcore Huskers right here. Heck yeah, you guys. Many hanging out. I like it. Oh man, this is you are pod lady. Oh my God, so this will make like 2 pods you've done, and one and I'm ending here pretty quick, and one you've made it up till the end. No, I think Mosey's I thought Mosey's just like 200, 205. I don't think he's 225. Oh, never mind. I didn't read far enough. You're talking about Jeremiah. Andrew Marshall, maybe my new Husker crush. He really seems like a nice guy. I'm glad we got him. Let's see. Yeah, what Marshall said, they asked him like the biggest difference between like Idaho State and Lincoln, and he's like, oh my God, he's like the nutrition, the number of trainers they have, just everybody, they're there to take care or whatever, and I think that kind of blew him away. Tiger Sharks putting Nwaneri down for 7 sacks. Let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, Butler. You watched that too. Butler didn't mince words about him playing or starting. Yeah, so someday it's like Benny told me how she got started as a Husker fan, and maybe I'll tell you that someday with her permission. But it was an interesting story. It's a new one. There you go, Mark. They haven't been talking about Marquardt as much, but they were talking about him all through the spring, and I think it's just assumed here's your new middle linebacker, and and frickin' all Big Ten. It just sounds like he's hell on wheels. Let's see. No chance. Tiger says Mosey's at 189. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get an up close look at him yet, but I'm just telling you where they're listing him. That's not always true. Oh, there we go. The fairy pod mother. Fairy god Minnie. And yeah, then we've got 2 candidates for the next Levante, Vincent Shavers and Marcus Watson-Trent. Shavers might be playing more of Levante's position, but hey, I'll take any Levante. I will take any Levante. It doesn't have to necessarily be the next. Even close is fine with me. So, anyhows, oh, somebody says they've heard the mini. Pitsype says he's heard the mini Husker fan origin story 14 times. Well, I've only heard it once. Okay. You know what? We've been going 223. That might even beat the record on, not that we added Husker talk into it, because I think with Friday Night Lights last year, that went about 210, 215, and Miley was ready to claw my eyes out because I usually try to promise her to try and keep it to an hour and a half or 45, but there was just too much on Friday Night Lights, and I know the comments were flying then. Who's our next standout offensive lineman? Man, Lutovsky. Lutovsky looks like a beast. Rocco looks good. Many threw Rocco up there. But, geez, I'm going to go with Lutovsky. That's the thing, man, is we got a line now with Justin Evans, Lutovsky, Rocco, and then on one side, I think, who we got? Corcoran and Teddy on one side fighting for a job, and then on the other side, Gunnar Gotchula's giving Elijah Pritchett a run for it at left tackle. Because remember, he ended up started the year third string. Turner went down, Teddy went down, and Gunnar played the last several games. And hey, and people were not complaining about his play. So Lutovsky's mine, but I like this line. This is where I think we're going to see the biggest steps forward, because with Donovan, it's a little better. It's a little better each year with Donovan, and we're doing it the right way. We're building it slowly. If we're bringing in the transfers, then they're coming in with the understanding you may not start. There's some, we brought in a few that couldn't beat out the guys we had. So I'll just run down the list quick, and then we're going to say goodnight. Minnie's going with Rocco. Pit Snipe's going with Justin and Lutovsky. And then Minnie asked about Tyler Knack. Said you can't doubt. Yeah, Tyler Knack's getting a nice talk. If he doesn't start, he'll be seeing the field. Yeah, and Rule. Yeah, you're right on Rule. Loving him in the spring. And is this the best O-line since the early 2000s? It's got the potential. It's got the potential. I'm not going to go farther than that, but I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm hearing. Nobody's looking small. There's times, I've been with Riley, man. Some of those, we weren't looking like a big line. Then we got the size back at least. So, Fromm said what Haas said was best since 2006, says Minnie. And what's this? I think so. Fromm feels way deeper than we've seen in a while. It does. It just, the coaches are saying it, and they kind of hemmed and hawed about it before. Just go, oh, those young guys, they're doing their best. And I think now we've got guys on the 3 deep that would be fine if disaster struck. All right. That's it. Thank you so much. Glad to see the comments firing. Minnie, thanks for joining us. You pod is your life. Thanks for giving us a couple hours. Everybody from Beetle, Kaylee, Fred, Nebraska Rascal at the end says, Corcoran needs to just stay on the sidelines. He's too much of a liability. Well, he's starting beginning of last year. If you can get him, health might be his biggest issue. But anyway, I'll be going till 11, and also I'm starting. I need to take a whiz. Good night, everybody. Go Big Red. Love you guys. Love you tuning in. We'll be back here next Tuesday for Goon and hopefully some more Husker talk. I think we might get out. We didn't this week, but next week I think we get to watch practice again. So go Big Red. Love you guys. See you next Tuesday. Thank you very much.